3D printing is one of the most amazing technologies that we have in tabletop wargaming, because we could go onto a computer, download some random file that someone designed at 3 a.m, probably drunk, download it, print it, and have a physical version of that within hours. But I also think it's one of the most underutilized technologies we have, because a lot of the time people buy a 3D printer in this community so they can print proxies or standing models for other war games that are out on the market. But today, my name is Mikey, and that's my name every day, and today I'm going to be 3D printing an entire war game instead. Now, I use 3D printers, much like you probably do, to print like accessories like for tabletop gaming, like I mentioned, whether it's like basing parts, like accessories like wound counters and stuff like that, conversion bits and stuff, you know, just generic bits to just accentuate, just build on the fact that I play war games like Warhammer, etc. But you might just have a 3D printer and you might not even play tabletop games, and this is where 3D printing an entire game is going to be really cool, because one, it's very cheap to 3D print a war game. Like, I've gone over I've done the pricing of 3D printed miniatures to death already. You can see that video here. But 3D printing an entire war game is a lot cheaper to try compared to buying a starter set. So this could be for someone who has a 3D printer and wants to try wargaming, or just wants to try a new game in their hobby. Because to buy a starter set for most games, you're looking towards, you know, 100 to 150 pounds, maybe like 150 to $200 equivalent to buy, build, clean up, potentially paint, but let's say not paint, learn the rules and get on the tabletop for you to go, I actually don't like this game. I actually don't like wargaming. You might not enjoy the mechanics. You might not enjoy the models, for example. But the fact that you can 3D print that for maybe $30 to $50 is really, really cheap. The sunk cost into trying out that sort of thing is very, very low. Now, obviously, the whole point of 3D printing your own war game is for you to find a new war game you're going to enjoy. It's not always about, oh, I didn't have to spend much to find out I didn't like it. But you can go out with 3D print a war game, and this could be the best war game you've ever played, or the best war game you've ever seen, with some of the nicest models on the market that just aren't available on the shelf. And that's why I'm going to be 3D printing Battles of Valerna today, because these are by far some of the best miniatures I've ever seen. The other advantage of 3D printing or playing a 3D printed war game is you aren't limited by the models that are available on the shelf. Again, you can 3D print either the models provided via a Kickstarter, as an example, or you can 3D print any proxy and use those as well. Again, like we do in other war games, it's kind of like all wraps in. There's just 3D printed miniatures is just great as a whole. But also, again, when it comes down to cost, if you play a war game and you're like, wow, this unit's really good, I wish I had 3, you can print 3 for probably the next day. You probably don't have to build them. You probably don't have to glue them together. It's just going to be a case of pressing print, getting them washed, getting them cured, getting them off, and they're ready to go. And also, again, in that same vein, if you decide to play with something, maybe with loads of spears, and you snap the spears off because in anger, you know, trying to grab a beer or something like that, you can just go and 3D print a new one for like next to no cost. Outside of just looking at the benefits of cost, the other benefits are that a lot of miniatures do come pretty much pre-built. Like Battles of Valerna that we're going to be 3D printing today, all the miniatures are fully built on textured bases, so it is literally a case of just printing, peeling off the supports, and then going and playing with them once you've cured them, obviously. So not only is it a massive time save, because you're not going to have to build them. If you don't like building miniatures, then this might be something that's right up your street. But also, you can 3D print an army, start 3D printing an army on Saturday, 3D print the other army this Saturday afternoon, maybe, if you're lucky, depending on how big these armies are. And you can have like a brand new war game to play in a matter of hours, in a matter of days. So like, from say, start Saturday morning and start playing on Sunday night with your friend. They could print the rules on their printer. You can print the models on your printer. That's a fair trade. And you might be thinking, if you don't have a 3D printer, that it's like a lot of work to go from file to printing, but a lot of files do come pre-supported these days. Again, like the example we're using today, who are sponsoring this video, their miniatures come pre-supported, so it is just a case of downloading them, whacking them on your USB sticks, shoving it in the printer, pressing print, leaving it, forgetting about it, and then coming back and cleaning them up. Maybe like 10-15 minutes. I also did a video about how fast it is to 3D print miniatures, which you can also find just there. And if you're feeling really spicy that day, you could also take multiple miniatures from either the same designer or different designers, and then digitally kit bash the miniatures into something new. So take the head off this one, the weapons off this one, and smash it all together in something like Blender or Mesh Mixer. Mesh Mixer is what I use. I find it really simple to use. You can digitally kit bash your own miniatures and then go and print that. And it's just kind of like, the world is literally your oyster. And it's just, again, going back to the cost, it is just generally cheap to either try out Wargaming or try out a new Wargame, because we all play loads of Wargames. You might play a Wargame, that's why you're watching this video. You might be interested in playing Wargames, and that's why you're watching this video. So click subscribe if you haven't already. But the point is that it's very cheap and easy to do, to try out something new, because you might be burnt out with a game. You might see a game, you're like, oh, that looks interesting, but you don't want to like invest lots of time and energy into it, and lots of money, especially because obviously everything's getting more expensive. We want to be a bit more wary about how we're throwing our money around. And if we've already got a 3D printer, it's just going to make that opportunity really cheap. So what I'm saying is, it's relatively cheap to print a new Wargame. It's relatively quick to print a new Wargame. But what does it look like? Well, I guess we better start printing. It's sponsor time, so you know what that means. Prepare for an epic adventure with Dragon Bond Battles of Valerna that is on Kickstarter right now. This fantasy-themed wargame is fully 3D print and play with over 250 miniatures across 5 different armies available. You can assemble and customize your forces like never before. Build an army to face off against your rival, and even have additional units from the monster pack to rampage across the battlefield, destroying friend and foe alike. Not only can you use these incredible miniatures in Dragon Bond, but they are also compatible with any other tabletop wargames like Warhammer or RPGs like Dungeons & Dragons. Get ready for a whole new level of gaming with the updated rulebook. Dive into a range of exciting scenarios, from small skirmishes to grand battles, allowing you to start playing with just a few models. And where this game really shines is by unleashing the power of the dragons. Encounter a breathtaking variety of dragons, including the brand new additions in this campaign. And you can choose to Dragon Bond your heroes to their very own dragon and witness their power grow exponentially. But beware, for this bond comes at a cost. You can also strategize with all of your units like never before. With a unique fatigue system, you must decide whether to push your units to their limits or save them for that perfect opportunity. This game was designed by the legendary Alessio Calvatore. I'm a big fan of this man. He's known for his work on Warhammer Fantasy Battles, writing the best army book in there, The Skeletons. He also worked on the Lord of the Rings strategy battle game, Kings of War, and Bolt Action. Dragon Bond Battles of Valerna brings you the expertise of a true gaming mastermind. Embark on an epic adventure and rewrite the entire history of Valerna. Follow the link in the description and back the campaign for as little as $5 to get the full rule set, or $25 to get your first army with all of its stretch goals. But act fast, there is only a matter of days left to get involved in this campaign. So take a look at Battles of Valerna today, and thank you very much to Draco Studios for sponsoring today's video. And here we are, this is Dragon Bond Battles of Valerna Scenario 1, an introductory campaign. This is known as the Witchbone Pass. We have the Isval defending the pass, whilst we have the Tyveria coming in on the prowl. Let me tell you a little bit about what's happening here with my introductory campaign notes. In this scenario, the Isval, or the Isvilians, are defending the Witchbone Pass, and the Tyverians have sent a small force, a small assassination force, to take out the leader of the guard. The Isval are defending the pass with an Isval army commander and 2 Rain Knight shield hearts on the flank. And the Tyverians have sent a small force of Shev assassins with the Vespi Day Shredders. However, unbeknownst to both of them, there is actually a wounded Boar Clan Emir on the hill, who has just had a bit of a row with his old fam. His dad's told him off for staying out too late last night, so he's going to be fatigued, and we're going to represent that with a couple of tokens. Now, I'm not going to go through the entirety of the game, I'm just going to show you some of the mechanics, but what I did want to say is all of these models were 3D printed, as well as the dice. Now, I don't have all of the dice, I've got some of the defense dice, but all of the rules I'm using is all available via PDF. All the cards are printed out, all the tokens are printed out. Now, I could print them on some nice card. I don't have that luxury right now, but the fact is that this entire war game was printed at home. Now, the objective of this game is for the Tyverians to assassinate the leader, the commander, or to hold 2 of the objectives at the same time by having more models within range. So what we're going to do, we're going to represent that. We're going to say the Tyverians are going next, and the Shev assassins are going to make a charge against the commander. Now, the Shev assassins have a speed of 8, and they're going to make a charge action. So what we do is we roll 3 black dice and add it to the speed, and that is their charge distance. Now, I don't have the printed dice, so we're going to use this using a D100 because it's a D10, and there's a handy conversion in the rulebook. we get a 4, we get a 2, and we get a 6. Now, 6 is a successful and it adds 1 success. The Chev Assassins, according to their card, is speed 8, so that means we've made a 9-inch charge. Let's have a look, see if we make it. They rolled 1 success, so they add 1 to the charge move, which means they're going to be moving 9. And it does look like they failed to make it to the commander. So whilst they'll make a charge move, they won't be fighting anyone anytime soon. If the Chev Assassins had made it into combat, you would count how many are actually in base to base or base to base of their own unit to the enemy and roll a black dice for each one that is attacking. This black dice is a d10. On this d10, each roll of a 5+ will cause a hit. If they roll a 9 or a 10, they'd be a critical hit which can't be ignored. For every successful hit they cause, the army commander would roll a defense dice, in this case a black d6, which essentially on a 3+ would ignore each point of damage. Then once you've done the attack and defense pools, worked out how many actually got through, add on any critical wounds, and then you'd apply the damage. After which it'd be up to the commander to swing back with his massive warhammer. And that is it for that activation. Then it'd be up to the Isval to send their Rain Knight Shield Hearts on the flank to try and charge the Assassins in response. With their speed of 10, they might be able to make it. Or maybe even the Giant wants to come down off the hill and start dealing with them. He's fatigued because of his fight with his mum and dad last night, but you know, he's still a Giant. And that's it. This is like, again, this is fully 3D printed. Except for the cards and tokens, we even have the defense dice 3D printed as mentioned. This is the sort of thing that you can do with a 3D printer at home. You can literally back this project, back any project you want to look at, download the models, download the rules, print them off, and then start playing the game. Because this is like, again, an example scenario. If the Tiverian player wins, we move on to scenario 2, and if the Isvillians win, we move on to scenario 3. So there's like a growing narrative, and this is just one example, but it's a fantastic example of a fantasy war game that I 3D printed at home. Yeah, I've got terrain and stuff, but it just boggles my mind. It's magic. It's honestly magic that 2 days ago, I didn't have this game, and now I have it, and it's cost me pennies in resin and a little bit of 3D printer ink and some paper. So going from a bottle of resin 2 days ago to having a fully functioning war game right in front of me is honestly the coolest thing. And obviously you can use these miniatures for any game you like, any game that they function with, but being able to go from bottle to tabletop is just something that is honestly blows my mind, and it's super cool. Again, like having all the rules available to print, having all the miniatures ready to print, printing as many as you like. Oh, you really like the Chev Assassins? All right, print another unit. Oh, you really like the Ogre? You just want to run loads of Ogres? Just print loads of those. It's like, I can't stress enough how easy it is to go from 3D printing resin to a fully functioning tabletop game using these 3D printed miniatures and using these systems and services like what Draco Studios are offering with Dragon Bond Battles of Valena. And obviously they're sponsoring the video, but the rule set for this is very, very simple to pick up, in my opinion. And the cards, they all have the symbols that are very easy to follow and easy to understand. You can go from having no war game to a brand new war game in one weekend. Me and a friend could just pick this up and play now. We could be ready for scenario 2. He could tell me what miniatures I need. I run off and print them, spray them up one color. Yeah, they're not painted, but spray them up one color, and then I can carry on playing this next scenario in this campaign that we've got for the Witchbone Pass, which is just really, 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 really fun, to be honest. And I'm like super excited about this project. And obviously, like a lot of people see 3D printing in miniatures just printing proxies for other war games. And again, this is what these miniatures could be used for. But the fact is you can just print an entire new game to play if that's something you're interested in. So there you go. That's how I 3D printed my very own war game. I'm really excited about this project. I love the miniatures. The setting sounds cool. And I fucking love dragons. I'm yet to play a proper game, but I do have the first scenario ready. And is that something you'd like to see on the channel in the future? Do let me know down in the comments, because if one of you enablers leaves me an excuse to play this game, I can't be held responsible. I want to say a massive thank you to Draco Studios for sponsoring today's video. They're an amazing company to work with, and I'm very, very happy to promote them to you guys. And thank you very much for making it this far. If you've watched all the way through and watched the advert as well, I do really appreciate it. I honestly couldn't be here without you, and with companies like Draco Studios working together, we can just bring awesome stuff to your eyeballs, and hopefully you've enjoyed the journey. So thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe. I know, like and subscribe. I'm saying it like everyone else. I know, I have to. It's called a call to action. And whilst you're there, you can also click the link in the description to Draco Studios Kickstarter Dragon Bond Battles of Valena. So that's it. Let me know if you've got a war game you want to print, or what other war games that are printable you'd like me to look at. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now. Bye!